Now, right from the time the baby is born till, like about, say, 10 years of age, that is exactly, the audience is also, linked to right now, is the time when the brain of the child is developing at every moment. So, if you want to take a wild guess at it, how much is the amount of gray matter in our brains? Like, if anybody would like to guess, it is 86 billion neurons. That is the units that are inside our brain, which develop eventually in the child, is 86 neurons. Now, this is what has been given to the child through nature, through God, maybe, like through universe, whatever you want to call it. Now, on top of that, where does the role of parents, who are actually the first teachers of the child, and schools like DPS, where does that come in? So the role is for the linking of those basic units, the links between the neurons, which are called synapses. So I'm sure, like all of us are very well versed with the internet and social media these days. So there's a lot of emphasis on the plasticity of those brain cells, which would mean that they have the ability to formulate and reformulate. So what is happening in a child's brain during these formative years of life, which in simpler terms I would like to say is like the child's brain is like clay, and we are given the responsibility to mold it in the ways that we want. So what is happening is, when we are exposing the child to our nurturing care, to the environment of our house, to the environment outside, these cells are forming connections at every given second. So whatever your child is seeing you do, the child is going to mimic that. It is going to imitate that. So the most important onus of responsibility as parents comes to the fact that we have to be role models for our children. And whatever we do, the change has to come within us so that our children are able to ape that change. So eventually, the basic idea comes to is we are going to nurture our children. Like in schools, in homes, we are going to give them a very, I would go beyond saying that a structured, kind of learning. Beyond that is something called as a nurturing care. What is the difference exactly? Suppose a child does not behave in a way where we would expect the child to. So a usual reaction would be to get upset about it, to maybe get a little angry about it, to try to discipline the child. Now the difference comes like between the child, which I personally believe in this aspect, that what a parent feels for their child is that a child is an extension of them only, like an appendage. So whatever they want to do for themselves is what they do for their child. So if a child has committed a mistake, the best way to rectify that and to not allow that behavior to happen again in the future would be to give a nurturing advice to that child, not a reprimanding or aggressive or a thrashing advice to that child. So this is where the role of parenting comes. Now parenting these days has undergone certain challenges, which have been induced by the environment, by our changing culture, our society. The most important change, I would like to say, is the advancement of technology. Now, as we look at the history of mankind, I wonder, if you've heard of this book called *Sapiens* by Yuval Noah Harari. So in that book, it's one of my personal favorites. In that book, he has mentioned that about the 10,000 years back, when the certain revolutions came, like the agricultural revolutions, everything. Still, the society, the human beings used to live in communes, in tribes, as groups of 100 and 150 people in a tribe. But in the last 100 or 200 years, something changed dramatically. And that was initially the Industrial Revolution, and now in the last 10 to 20 years is the technological revolution. The human mind, the human brain has not been able to keep pace with the speed, the pace at which the technology has advanced. Now, what is the most common, kind of like product of technology that we see every day? Like, would anybody, want to answer that?